Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to go to kickboxing now.
You know what? You know better. Stop. For real.
We're live.
You know you don't work out. We know you don't lift. We know
Like
you don't eat salad because all I
once
see
in a while.
timeline is pizza and steak. That's it. Nothing else.
And well, and beer too.
Sounds
Huh?
like a pretty good
And
diet.
beer
And
once
beer.
in a while. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And wine
Exactly.
and chocolate.
Mhm.
Uh,
Anyways, we are live. Renee,
we're
let's
live.
bring the
I'll be good.
professionalism up a little
Yes,
bit.
yes, sir.
Bring it together.
Okay, so thank you everybody for joining tonight's most controversial episode we've ever had because I used the word female a couple times. I trolled you. So here's the great thing is that we've got two Army females at both ends of the spectrum on cybersecurity. So LinkedIn works. Alicia, how did we meet?
LinkedIn.
Boom, there you go. And you know what? I was looking for some high-end people, and she came up in my search because I always start with vets, and I look for high-level people. And what do we have? We have a special guest that I found. She was gonna be here last week, but she got stormed out, understandable, because she lives in the South. So she's here. Same with Renee. So Renee's on the other end of the spectrum, a couple years into cybersecurity. So I think it would be a great thing if we could kind of talk about how their journeys through IT and cybersecurity differ and look, and give you guys. I've seen Alicia's. We're going to PowerPoint you to death tonight. By the way, she's got a slide she's going to share, and she's going to kind of walk through what different stages look like of the game, and I'll let her speak for herself. So, ladies first. I use this with an asterisk next to it because Renee's not very ladylike. I'll let Renee go first. And then, the two of us that are normal, three of us that are normal here. And then I'll let Alicia introduce herself, talk about her background, and then take over from there. And then feel free to put some comments in the box here for us so we can respond. Or I shouldn't say we, I should say Renee and Alicia. And if you haven't done it already, click that little invite button and get some fellow battle buddies here so we can continue to grow this support page for people. So it's really important that we act as a community together and advance all of us the best that we can. We do a great job here. So we got a little light on the invites lately. We're down to we only have like 500 pending. Usually we have like 5,000, 6,000, maybe even 20,000 sometimes. But we want high quality people here so that we can continue to add value for those who are needing some help. Okay, boom. Renee,
Yes.
tell us about you. A little bit about your Army time and where you're at now.
Yep. So real quick, I spent 5 years in the Army as a light wheel vehicle mechanic. After the Army, I continued my mechanic career till 2005. During that time, I went back to school to go get my bachelor's degree in IT. I got a job at Wells Fargo. I spent 13 years there doing desktop support and help desk. Went back to school, got my master's degree in cyber security technologies with a minor in cybersecurity and cyber threat intelligence. And I currently now work at Mortensen Construction doing cybersecurity.
Is this your first, second, third, fifth? What job is it in cybersecurity?
This is my first job in cybersecurity because I can't count I can't count a physical command center security.
Okay.
So, yes.
And you're at the point now where it's time to take your career to that next level, right?
Exactly.
Okay, because you're really competent at what you do, but you just hit the threshold where you're not being challenged enough, right?
Yep, correct.
Okay, all right. Alicia, it is your time to introduce yourself, please.
All right, my name is Alicia Catney. I am a 12-year Army veteran. Originally, when I joined the military in 1994, I came in as a 31 uniform, a signal support system specialist, which has now been converted to the 25 uniform series. I delved into cybersecurity a little bit while I was still in the military, working for the 513th Military Intelligence Battalion. at Fort Gordon. And from that point on, I immersed myself with kind of learning a little bit more. At that time, we were still on the, oh gosh, what was it called back then? DISCAP kind of thing, which was being basically integrated into the NIST 800-53 series. But I really did not get into the cyber realm in information assurance / cybersecurity until 2006. And that was when I joined my sister, or should I say my headquarters at INSCOM at Fort Belvoir as a government contractor working for CACI. And funny story about how I actually rolled into that position. I had taken a job to move up to the DC area in December of '94, working for CRC at the EPA. And in that role, I was going to be assisting them with moving over into the Defense Messaging Service. So for my folks out there who may have dealt with the 74 Bravo series, you probably remember what DMS was. It was the old messaging style where you would get the messages on the like 25 prong paper. And all of those messages had to be sorted by organization, organizational code. Well, the Defense Messaging Service was basically going to be integrated using Windows 2003 servers, and you were going to basically have mailboxes set up. So I initially started that working for the Air Force, and this opportunity popped up. It allowed me to pack up, head to the DC area, but unfortunately, with the EPA, this was a time when Homeland Security had stood up and they decided to no longer grandfather federal agencies into this particular realm. And they were originally going to partner with Fort Belvoir, their cybersecurity division, to get this anchored, and it was pretty much a fail. So during that particular opportunity, I found myself being in a conundrum where we were looking at possibly the position going away, and a recruiter reached out to me on monster.com. So these websites do work, everyone, and asked me if I would be interested in a position with headquarters INSCOM. And I said, absolutely. So I didn't know what CNA was at the time. So she sent me a bunch of documents to study basically for the interview. And for about 3 or 4 days, I crammed all that information in. I took some notes, and luckily for me, the position or the interview was being done over the phone. So I literally was in my car and had like a notebook open where I was literally going through every single thing. And I will tell you guys, I killed it. I was literally giving them the answers to the questions before the questions were answered. So that's another technique that I honed in on when it came to interview prep. And I'll go into that in my presentation following. But that's where the career started. And I went from working in headquarters INSCOM in 2006, and my career pretty much took off from there. I had set a goal for myself of hitting that 6-figure mark within 3 years, and I was only 2 years shy of hitting that mark. But I'll also go into that story. So
that's 10 years ago,
so many opportunities within cybersecurity, and I'm going to touch on each one of those in my presentation, but just wanted to give you a little bit about myself. I've been doing this for 25 years, going into 26, and I have been with a plethora of federal, DoD, Intel, and also private sector agencies and companies. And now I have my own company, Executive Cyber Solutions, which is pretty much where I do a lot of my 1099 work, because of course you have to have an LLC established if you want to do 1099 work. So, so that's a little bit about me.
So I did take a question from Michael Barton and put it into the chat over there. And it says, hello, I'm currently pursuing my cybersecurity degree with Purdue Global. I'm a little over halfway. What certs should I get before I graduate? Was that something you'll touch on in your presentation here?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. Hold on tight, Michael. Here it comes. So she's gonna share her screen here.
All right, so let's go to the share screen. All right. So how do I become a cybersecurity professional? I'm going to go all over that this evening. Well, first of all, before you embark on becoming a part of cyber, you want to determine what are your interests in cyber. And what I mean by interest, meaning, in other words, what do you really feel is your nick for being able to come into this field and actually enjoy what you do? Well, what I have for you are a couple of items here. Actually, let me want to make sure you guys can see my whole presentation. 1 second. Okay, I guess that's not going to work. Okay. So basically, and I'm going to go through this at the national level. So right now you have a total, and this was basically about a year or two ago. So I'm sure these numbers have probably increased. But right now of openings, you have anywhere from 521,000. I'm sure that probably has increased maybe by 25% because we have more opportunities opening up every single day in cyber, and that also crosses over into your Amazon Web Services, which I will touch in a little bit on my presentation as well. Total employed cybersecurity workforce, this was as of 2019, was 941,904. Now, supply of cybersecurity workers. Now, it averages anywhere, a national average of 1.8. And I'm just going to kind of break that down for you. So, because of the types of jobs that cybersecurity has, to me, this is a little bit skewed. And the reason I say that is because a lot of companies, when they are searching for cybersecurity professionals, they try to lump us all into one particular job. And a lot of times you'll see IT specialists and you'll see a little bit of sprinkle of cybersecurity engineer, cybersecurity analyst. You may even see cybersecurity manager or even administrator within the job title. Well, one of the things that you have to pay close attention to is when you're looking for these careers is you want to look at, okay, how does this impact what I already know how to do? In the industry, we break it down into two areas. IT, which is just your server, your PC, your desktop, server administration. You can have an IT administrator, database administrator. And then we go into the actual information assurance. This is a title that was once given to cybersecurity. And the difference in the two is one is going to be more technical, where you're actually going to be administering all types of appliances such as routers, switches, networking equipment. You may even be a database administrator, or you could be a system administrator. And the differences between the two are specific down to the operating system. So when I say system administrator, that means you know your way around the administrative side of a Windows platform, or it could be Linux, meaning Red Hat, or it could be SQL Server, meaning database. So that particular area is where I call my technical baseline. Now, the area that I've been working in for the last 25 years is what I would call a cybersecurity analyst. Now, right now, the term analyst can be defined in multiple platforms. It all depends on the job description. And I will be frankly honest with you. Companies do not know how to write a proper job description when it comes to cybersecurity. They will throw every single operational type of term into one job. And the reason they do this is it allows them to be able to get more bang for their buck. Because if you think about it, you go off and you get a degree, say for instance, a BS in computer applied sciences. Well, you're pretty much going to learn a hodgepodge of information. More frequently, you're going to actually learn more theory than you will hands-on. When you look at what I do from the cybersecurity analyst perspective, what I am doing is policy and compliance. Now, policy, for those of you that may not be familiar with that term, you're looking at your NIST 800-53, Rev 5, you're looking at your Cobalt, you might be looking at the CMMC, which is a new, similar to DFARS, but it is something where it is now affecting what we call the defense information, what is it, the DIB? So defense information, oh gosh, I can't remember what the other acronym is, but I'll come back to that later. But just to kind of give you an understanding, in the world that I work in, you're dealing constantly with how is this system in compliance with this regulation. So that aspect for some people may not be enjoyable. They may find it a little bit more cumbersome because you literally become a bookworm. You're researching, you're trying to understand and be able to translate what a specific control or a regulation and how it's interpreted within the system boundary. Okay. Now, another area I want to touch on, since I've talked a little bit about the technical aspect, I've given you a little bit about the cyber analyst side of things. I want to go into the cybersecurity manager slash administrator. Now, that role in itself is basically the same job to a certain degree. It's a level of management and also a technical position. That's where the administrator side comes in. Now, very, very infrequently have I seen job descriptions titled cybersecurity manager slash administrator. Typically, you'll see a cybersecurity manager. And basically, what that kind of equates to is what we call under NIST, an information system security manager. What that person is responsible for is the level of compliance from a policy standpoint, and they're also managing the technical group. So in most organizations, you will have a group that does the hardware, the software, the database. Those are your technical core areas. That manager is there to oversee how all of those particular positions work within the compliancy realm. So you have people applying patches, you have individuals that are applying they're applying baselines to servers, to networking equipment, or they could be actually be managing the network in terms of all of the switches and the routers. Those are your folks who might be Cisco compliant or Cisco certified, excuse me, where they may come in and that's all they do. They program routers, switches, all types of appliances that work on the network. And those individuals you will also see when we get into talking about vulnerability management. Okay. Now, the next one, systems engineer. To be honest with you, I have no idea why that falls in cybersecurity because typically a systems engineer has nothing to do with cyber. Most of that platform is specifically when you start looking into things like, say, for instance, you get into the DoD side where you may have engineers that are working on mission control systems or they're working on air defense artillery systems. These are what I would consider full-fledged engineers. These are the ones that go and they're actually into the development of the system itself, not specifically having to do with IT or cyber. But to save some coins, some companies try to lump that term so that they can either charge their customer, meaning the government, a little extra money so that they can also profit. And then sometimes when it comes down to hiring that person, you have to choose between, okay, do I hire a actual cybersecurity professional or do I hire an engineer? It all depends on the type of work and the type of systems that that person may be looking to work with. Let's look at software developing and engineering. Now, that is one particular area it falls under cybersecurity because it deals specifically with software development. You have individuals that are writing code. They're coming in doing Python and some of the code, I'm trying to remember some of the code language. C++ comes to mind. What else? C++ and some of the old programming languages, and I can't think of them off the top of my head.
The big thing I'm seeing with those guys right now is they're doing a lot of container work with Kubernetes and they're in Docker and stuff like that. So a lot of the scripting's kind of off the shelf to a certain level, but it's a lot of migration into the cloud. It seems to be the bulk of that work right now, at least what we're running.
Now, where I'm currently located here in Huntsville, Alabama, this is typically where you would see a lot of the software development positions because of NASA, because of the Army, the Air Defense. We have the Space and Missile Defense Command. So you have a lot of organizations that specifically need programs written for the systems that these organizations use. Next, looking at networking engineering and architect. that's going to be strictly a lot of your network appliances, individuals that are actually establishing the network or they are managing the network. And this could be at the enterprise level or this could be at the local level. More platforms right now are migrating to the cloud. So you will see this kind of be twofold. You'll have your networking group that might be working at the data center, that might be managing all the appliances, making sure they're properly configured. These are going to be the areas where you're going to see a lot of those particular jobs. Sometimes in smaller companies where they are either going in and looking to do a tech refresh, they may be looking to hire someone with that level of experience. So this is where you really want to hone your skills in, specifically if you want to work at that network layer. Now, one of my favorite positions that I always see all the time is a vulnerability analyst or penetration tester. Okay, these positions do fall under cybersecurity. However, they are another area that specializes in administration. So basically, you're going to go right back to that system administrator because you typically are going to be at the administrative level, or what we call a privileged user, in order to be able to have the credentials to be able to go in and do vulnerability management. Now, there are some cybersecurity professionals, and those titles are Information System Security Officer or an ISSO, or you might see an ISO in some organizations. Those are typically the professions and those areas where you will find the vulnerability analysis or the penetration tester, because they're actually performing root level specific work. That means they're getting down into the BIOS. They are actually looking at how they can find backdoors to be able to hack into your system. Now, typically, we see those roles a lot more in jobs where you're actually going out and you're doing inspections. On the DoD side, I know for the NIST compliance, we used to call those red teams and blue teams. And they specifically would go out with the cybersecurity analyst or the cybersecurity specialist, and they would actually do a lot of the compliance testing. So whereas I would be doing the documentation of the policy and ensuring that the policy meets what the actual compliance level is on the technical aspect, and then they would be running the actual test to determine if the system has the appropriate configurations to prevent any malware or prevent any hacker from entering into their network. The last position, cybersecurity specialist and technician, those tend to run on the same level. And I'll kind of go into this when we go into the certifications, because this is kind of where you want to set upon what is a good area for you and what you enjoy doing, because a lot of the certifications, they overlap. Just depends on if you're going for something more technical, more managerial, or you're going for something that's mostly compliance and policy. Now, let's talk about some of the job openings through the cybersecurity workforce framework. Now, this particular NICE, this was actually established by the Department of Homeland Security back in 2008. And they did this for their federal workforce to be able to define, how do we rate our cybersecurity workforce? Do they fall under software development? Do they fall under a security control assessor, meaning a validator? Are they a security architect, systems developer, information system security developer, and the authorizing? Now, that authorizing tab figures more into kind of what I do on the policy side of the house, on the compliance side of the house. So as you can see, the numbers are really a lot smaller in that particular area. And here's the reason why. If you think about it, would you rather spend the majority of your day going back and forth, reading documentation and comparing it to actual controls, or would you rather be hands-on on an actual server, going through and looking at configurations? Most people are going to want the latter. There's a special, I kind of call it group of us that really love the policy and compliance. We're the ones that we both understand it from a technical perspective, but we're mostly focused on, can you actually take the compliance requirement and write it specifically to how it's implemented within your organization, and still keep the guidelines that are the highlighted requirements for the NIST or for the intelligence side of the house. So that particular area, it's kind of a small group. Now these numbers are based on 2019 numbers, but I will tell you, I believe that that is a good summary of the amount of individuals that we have that are dedicated to working in that career field. Next would be the information system security developer. I think that title has actually changed. I think that's actually an information system security manager instead of a developer. Now let's move over to what everyone is really, really looking for, and that is the certifications. Now, when it comes down to certifications, this is really going to depend on the type of employer that you want to work for. And the reason why I say the type of employer, because the government, the federal government, has different standards for their cybersecurity workforce than the Department of Defense. In 2014, 2008, the Department of Defense established a workforce certification requirement for all of its individuals working in the IT field. They broke it down to individuals that were working for the technical side as well as on the policy side. And that's how they built their structure for the workforce. And if you were not certified by 2008, at least with the minimum of a Comptia Security Plus, you will not be able to work as a security or cybersecurity professional, or at that time it was still known as an information assurance security professional. So
can I ask you a question about those certs?
Yes.
So if you had to spend your personal money out of your pocket, would you go get an associate's degree in cybersecurity work or take that money towards certifications?
I would go the certification route. And here's the reason why. In the world of cybersecurity, most of the work that we do is dependent on the certification. As I spoke to earlier, when you go for a degree in information systems or for CIS, a lot of what you're learning is theory. You're not learning the actual process, the operational side. You're not learning the management side. You're learning just theory. The hands-on and the actual doing of the work comes in learning the material that is presented with the certification. The certification is going to break it down in all areas of both technical, policy, and management. And these are the core areas that you need to be able to have if you're going to keep a career in cybersecurity. Now, I'm just going to be frankly honest with you. I started out in 2004 attempting to go for my bachelor's degree in information security. I started off with UMUC. I got about halfway through the process. Of course, life happens. I had a child with autism, so I had to put my college career, on hold. So I had only completed basically an associate's degree. And when I finally got a chance to decide to go back into the world of college, by that time, I had already had 2 certs under my belt. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go into debt and go back to college, get a full 4-year degree when I'm still going to have to meet the requirements for my certifications. It just didn't add up. And at that time, most jobs were requiring at best anywhere from a security plus all the way to a CISSP. And just to kind of give you a little bit of what do you need to get your foot in the door. Comptia about 10, 11 years ago developed what I call a milestone approach to certifications. And they did it from the technical side. They started with A+. So basically, if you wanted to be desktop support and you wanted to work on a help desk, you would start with an A+. A+ was enough to get you a full-time job as a desktop support. because in a lot of these jobs, you go in and you may have knowledge of how things are done, but you have to learn it from the organizational standpoint. You have to learn it from the Army side or the Air Force, Marine Corps.
Can I throw
Um,
something in there?
what was
So you get a lot of guys that come in to the program here, and they're they're allowing themselves to be disqualified because they don't have a bachelor's degree. So, I think you gave a really great story on your own path as
Mhm.
far as how you got your foot in the door, and it's been successful for over 20 years. So,
Yes.
guys, if you're looking to get into this field, go down the path of get those certs out of the way, and then take your government money for your degree if your life allows it, and get your bachelor's degree. Learn how to write English. That's important, right? To be able to communicate and all those other things that they teach you in college, how to not drool over, cherry color crayons and stuff like that. Um, hey, and then I did post a question in there from Josh Sweeney.
Okay.
So he put, where would a RF radio frequency tech find a place in IT? So it turns out that was a satellite communications guy from 2005 to 13.
Okay.
So does that translate over into this world at all? I'm not familiar with that. That's 10 years, more than 10 years past my time.
So you would be able to use some of your training and I'm not sure what branch of the service you're in, but if you're Army, okay, if you're Army, your ACE transcripts would transcribe probably over more on the technical side. So you would be more listed as like a systems engineer. I think you would probably be best maybe starting out in a technical role because you already have a good background in that particular environment. It just has to be translated over into, operating systems. Whereas you may have been using a system that pretty much operates on Red Hat. Because to be honest with you, it wasn't until probably about 6 years ago, I was working as a validator on a project, and we actually went up to a company and we had to do a accreditation on one of the drones. And believe it or not, what I did not realize before going on to the project, when we were looking at the package, a lot of the systems that run, within the military, they run off of Linux. Believe it or not, Red Hat and Linux is what you're going to find in a lot of these communication systems, whether it be a drone or if it could be a satellite system. They run off of those programs, and some of them could be also Windows based. So just kind of having that background, you can use that skill set to walk you through the door. Now, the main thing is that you have to decide which area, whether you want to stay on the operating system side, you want to move over to the database side, or you kind of want to merge the two. And that's when it really depends on what you feel comfortable with attaining in terms of your certification. So on the list that I have for the certs here, you have the Comptia Security Plus. So let's just start back from what I was talking about with the A plus. So A plus, desktop security. If you're looking to step up your game and move up a little bit further, Network Plus. Network Plus was the next step for that in the CompTIA realm. And then from Network Plus, a lot of people made that jump to the Security Plus certification. Now, if I'm correct, I believe the Security Plus originally debuted in 2008 in beta. And then it went official 2009. And I believe there was a time period where CompTIA offered that if you took the certification, you would not have to ever take that certification again. And I think it went on for about 2.5 years. And basically anyone that took Security Plus would never have to retake the exam. You were grandfathered in. I was one of those that was lucky enough to get grandfathered in. So I still hold my Security Plus. The only thing that I have to do is meet my 50 CEUs. That's your continuing educational credits or units in order to hold the certification. And then I pay my yearly fee to CompTIA, and I think it's down to I think it's $50 a year is what I pay. But I also have the CAS, which in my particular career, since I did stay more or less on the policy side of the house, I took the CAS certification back in 2015, and then I went from the CAS to the CISM. So, and the reason I did that was because if you work for DoD, there are certain levels that you have to be able to maintain, and they are the IASC level 1, I believe 1 through 3. Then there is the IASC technical. Oh gosh, I can't remember all of them, but basically it's going to depend on your level of access. So if you're going to be, say, a privileged user on the technical side, you're going to have more technical related certs. So it could be in anywhere from, say, for instance, a CISSP, which would be your level 3. Level 2 would be, say, a CAS. That's another cert that's offered through Comptia. And then the level 1, which is the basic certification, could be either the CAP, which is offered through ISC squared, or you could have the standardized security plus. I find it for a lot of people, and I recommend for anyone coming into the world of cybersecurity is to start off at least with one cert, meaning through through CompTIA, Security Plus, or CAS, because the CAS incorporates more of the technical side as well as the policy and compliance. Security Plus for me was really easy because I kind of had a technical background from my old days, and I was able to pass the test first time. But you have a lot of people that are coming in, and with the materials that are out there, I think a lot of people are just kind of test shy. And what I also tell a lot of professionals is don't be afraid to work in with a group of people. That's really how I was able to acquire my CISM. I took the CISM 3 times before I passed it. And on that 3rd time, I finally said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and fork out the money, do a boot camp. Now, just to give you a little something on boot camps. Now, there are tons of them out there. For CISSP, IC Squared offers some anywhere starting at, say, about $600, and that's where you can do online, all the way up to in classroom, which will run you about $1,200 to $1,500. And you're probably saying, well, I can't afford that. Well, there are other avenues that you can actually go out there and look at taking. For those of you all who are veterans, there are several websites out there that offers free cybersecurity training. And literally all you've got to do is go out there and register. And I'll provide that in the chat once I'm done with my presentation. And actually, if we've got some time left, be able to actually show you what the website looks like. But to me, it was a big help for me in terms of going out and having to pay a whole lot of money for boot camps. But I wanted the CISM because for me, I was at a period in my career where I needed to have that level 3 cert. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to spend the boot camp money. And what I ended up doing was I got a group of people and we all pitched in to pay for the fee. And we just met up at one person's house and we would go through the training. And luckily with this particular company I went with, they would record and do a live session. And then you could go back and do a playback. So we would all get together at someone's house, say, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And we would literally go through all these trainings all day long. And we would quiz each other. And we did that for about 2.5 months. And when I went in on that 3rd time to take the CISM, I ended up passing it. And I will tell you that was the greatest joy that I had was passing that exam, because to be honest with you, the total cost of that exam was about $1,650 for all 3 tries. I've been a member of ISACA since 2013. And when I finally, took my 3rd test and passed it, I had spent about almost $1,600 because each test at that time was about $545. And then your regular yearly requirement is about $140. So, but it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. ISACA has a lot of resources, ISC Squared, which takes care of the CISSP or the CAP. They both offer a plethora of information. Now, for those of you all that are wanting to become auditors, there is one certification I recommend, and that is the Certified Information System Auditor, and it's also through ISACA. It's called we call it the CISM. That's another one for those of you all that want to be able to go out and do inspections, where you are looking at both the technical side and you're also looking at the policy side. This is another one, another great one to have. Of course, I mentioned the CISSP, the Global Information Assurance Certification, the GIAC. That one is really not used a whole lot. I know DoD stopped recognizing that back in 2014, because it's one of those certifications where it's pretty expensive, and they replaced it with the CISSP and the CISM. So I would recommend going with either one of those, or like I said, starting with Comptia, as you get started in your careers. Let's get to the next slide here. All right, so this one is an interactive map about your career path. So as I talked to you all earlier, this breaks down every particular area that you could potentially be in, from the feeder role to the entry level, mid-level, and even the advanced level. Now for networking, these are just some of the jobs that you may see, or some of the job titles for these particular positions. Under networking, you could see a cybersecurity specialist and or technician. Mid-level could be a cybersecurity analyst. And at the advanced level, you could see the cybersecurity manager or administrator. This is just kind of the pathway to get to those particular jobs within networking. It doesn't necessarily mean these jobs are all specific to networking. It's just that these will somehow incorporate that particular function within the job description. And like I said, it just depends on the client, and it also depends on what you're actually doing in the role. Software development, you could fall under a cybersecurity analyst or investigator. Those tend to be the forensics within cybersecurity. That is also a really highly desired field, because there are not really a whole lot of specific forensic positions. At least I have not seen in my 25 years a lot of those advertised, but they are very enjoyable positions. There's a certification called the Certified Ethical Hacker. And that certification, when it came out, a lot of people were racing to get that cert. But what I ended up finding out from a lot of my cyber friends was that they would go out and get that cert and then get the job, and then not be able to apply any of what they were doing in the position. So that's where you kind of have to really do your homework and do the research. Looking to, LinkedIn, and there are a lot of cybersecurity professionals out there, and you'll see an alphabet soup behind a lot of our names in terms of the certifications that we hold. And it allows you to be able to kind of differentiate, okay, what they actually do. How could they be potentially using these certifications? And like I said, Certified Ethical Hacker was one of those that was, it was great to get, but by the time you actually got it, you really weren't going to use a lot of the specific techniques and the things that you learned. So a lot of people either let their cert go by the wayside, or they got into another career field where they could actually utilize it. And sometimes that particular area is going to be reserved on the intel side of the house. So if you're applying to, say, NSA, or if you're going to go the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, another group I used to work for, that's where you would probably have an opportunity to use that cert, because they do a lot of blockchain. I think it's blockchain in a lot of the things that they do, but that's on a higher level from the intel side of the house.
So here's a question.
Yes.
So somebody says that they keep on getting requirements of wanting an engineering degree. So what would be a creative workaround for something like that? So here's one of the things that we run on Battle Buddies often, and I shouldn't say often, I should say every single day, is that it's a speed bump, not a barrier to employment. The degree thing, right? When I search anyways on LinkedIn Recruiter, I never put in degree unless the client's very specific about that.
Mhm.
But we're always looking for the certifications and what you've done.
Right.
So my take on that is if somebody is requiring an engineering degree, they're probably don't know what they're looking for, is my guess, because someone in HR probably clicked the damn button that
Yep.
says, "But make sure these guys have got a PhD or whatever for $40,000 a year," right? But Josh, so every single thing that she spoke about tonight has led to these amazing certs. And this was pretty cool. I actually ran into the guy that started this Comptia certification program. I'll send you guys his LinkedIn so you can like connect to the guy that built this program. But so other than, I mean, my perspective is just don't apply for that job if they're requiring a degree, or you might have to go out and get one of these other amazing certs that she's talking about that cost her $1,650 to get. And now she's got a six-figure career for the last decade.
Yeah. Well, and another thing too, just to kind of give you a little bit more comfort level when it comes to degrees. Like I said, I've been in this business now. I'm on my 26th year, and I do not have a full 4-year degree. Now, I am planning to go back to college, however, but not for cyber, because there's nothing that a professor can tell me that I don't already know. So I'm not going to waste my money in going in that route. What I will tell you, if you come across positions that are asking for a degree in engineering, it's probably not going to be for cyber. It's what they're trying to do is, and one of the things that I tell you that a lot of HR companies do is that they try to widen the net. So they'll throw in, okay, an engineering degree or a degree in information security or a degree in CIS or even, a master's. But if you don't see anything that references a certification, most companies would prefer a certification over a degree. And the reason that is because if they're working with a government client, whether it's DOD or whether it's Department of Commerce or Department of Veterans Affairs, you're not going to be required to have that 4-year degree. Is it great if you do? Yeah. But to let you know, you're going to be spinning your wheels for a lot of those positions. And if they are a true cybersecurity position in any one of these areas that you see, whether it's in software development, if it's going to be as a cybersecurity specialist. Now, the list that you see on the far left of the screen, systems engineering and financial and risk analysis, those might be the two areas where they could be potentially asking for those engineering degrees. Because really a systems engineer, it just really doesn't kind of fall, in my opinion, in that category. Unless you are specifically working with a client, like say, for instance, the Department of the Army, right here at Redstone Arsenal, there are a lot of system engineers that deal with building air defense artillery systems, or they're building systems that are for aircrafts. So that's where you would see a lot of your engineers. Also, too, there are a couple of companies. One company that I actually started off with about 3 years ago, they're called Cubic. And Cubic does a lot of work with telecommunications satellites. So some of their positions may require that engineering degree or in lieu of a certification. So that's kind of where you've got to, either if it's something that you really feel like, hey, I can actually do this, but it says I need to have this type of degree, apply for it. Because if you have the right certification and you have the right job history, you still may be able to at least get an opportunity to interview for the position. And
So
go
I
ahead.
can tell you guys how we prioritize things when we're trying to find professionals. We'll take experience first, certifications next, degrees after that.
Mhm.
So if you want to go spend a lot of 2 a.m. evenings getting your master's degree, right, Renee?
Right,
It's
right.
not going to hurt you. But I tell you what, the worst thing that you can do is go have a master's degree in cybersecurity not have any practical experience, and not have any certifications. So you can
Exactly.
go buy the cert, but you can't buy the experience.
Exactly. I did mine the opposite, obviously, because I didn't exactly
Well, if you would have
know
had this
right way.
presentation 3 years
Right.
ago, they would have done it for you, right?
Yeah, and certifications, they're highly sought after because they're not easy to pass. The CISSP, like I posted on there, you need 5 years experience to get your CISSP. Or if you have to know somebody that's that's going to endorse you, then they're going to endorse you. They're going to really endorse you, right?
So if you know you were to give some career advice this evening to the battle buddies on here, I see Detrice has got a thing. It's $370 to get some cert. I don't know which
yeah,
one he's talking about,
yeah,
but
that's
that seems pretty reasonable to crack open the doors for a new career field.
yes, yeah, because that'll pay you back. Yeah, and you can get lessons off. They can buy books, they can do live lessons. If you just Google, there's also tons of places. Like YouTube is great. Professor Mesner has his own series and also live, where he does Q&A and stuff. You can, I can't remember all the sites off my top of my head, but there are sites where you can get, pay for and get before the certification study material and stuff and flashcards. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The big thing is, guys, is don't think that you got to get this
yeah,
this unattainable degree that's going to take you 14 years to get a job. What's a decent expectation on how long it takes to get these certifications? Like the most basic one, like the Comptia.
the
Uh,
Comptia and Security Plus, you can get those right away. I mean, it's you study hard, you get the certification, um, but you still need that hands-on experience. So even if you don't get a cyber job right away, and you're looking to get into cyber and you're not in IT, I would also recommend looking for IT help desk or lower level stuff, um, or
the big thing is get your
any
foot in
IT
the
job
door.
you can get in. You get your foot in the door, get that experience, and then you can pivot and move to different companies, and as you get more experience.
Geez, I remember us having that conversation a year
Yeah.
ago, Renee, and you laughed at me.
Yeah, right.
Told
I'm
me to get
bad.
to that point where you're going to outgrow your company, and you're there now, right?
Right, exactly. Right, exactly. Yeah, right. But I also, if you work for a large company, you're going to be pigeoned into like doing one job. I started out, I'm in a small company now, which is great because I do everything. I do the Azure, I do the incident response, I do the security architecture, I do encryption, I do third-party risk. I do everything, which is great because now I can sit here and go, well, I don't like this, I like this, I don't like this, and I can kind of decide where I want to specialize. Because
And I did see a thing in here. What would be the top 3 certs? That's really dependent on the career path that you want to go down,
yeah,
is laid out, right? Is that safe?
exactly the career path. I wouldn't too worry about getting too many certs right away, right? Security Plus for sure. If you want to get in cyber, Networking Plus is also a good one for security.
And networking, right?
Networking, yes,
Networking.
and not networking and networking plus. Yeah, yes.
Use the battle buddy page. Use LinkedIn. Use your friends.
If you know somebody at a company like the company I got at, because I knew somebody, I got the job because I knew somebody to start out to get my foot in the door.
So Alicia, you had one last thing you wanted to show everybody on here?
So what you're seeing on the screen, this is the Federal Virtual Training Environment. It's known as Fed VTE. Every veteran or active duty member or anyone that's transitioning from active duty to the civilian world can sign up for a Fed VTE account. All you need is an email address, and you will go to fedvte.gov, and you will click on the screen to basically sign up. It will take you through a registration process. Then it will send you a link to set up your account. And then once you get your information, you'll log in. Now I'm already logged into my screen. This is where I really use to help me study for a lot of the certifications that I attained prior to getting my CISM. Even with my CISM, that course is on here as well. And as you can see, this is actually sponsored through the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA. This is under the Department of Homeland Security. And they made this available to help veterans who are wanting to transition into the cybersecurity world, but you don't know where to start. You don't know where, okay, how do I determine what I want to do? Well, this is going to help you determine what area you really can go into. So I'm just going to kind of give you a crash course of what's here. They have a full catalog, which I will be able to download, I believe, and I think I can put this into a PDF. And Chuck, I'll send this to you.
Okay, cool. We'll put it up in the file section, guys. There's a file section.
So remember I spoke about the NICE cybersecurity workforce framework category? Well, this is what a lot of the federal and DoD positions are going to. They're broken down into the investigate, protect and defend, analyze, operate and maintain, securely provision, collect and operate, oversee and govern. Now, my particular area is going to be over here, oversee and govern, but they also have 101 courses of, basic level courses. And I'm actually going to click on this and it's going to show you exactly what those areas are. Now, these are going to be some of those areas. You've got 101 for coding. This gives you a description of what you will be learning. So if you are interested in wanting to learn how to code, this will give you some of the learning objectives. Also, this will tell you what you will be learning as a part of the skill level for a basic person going into coding. Now let's look at one of the other courses here. Go back. These are the course modules and units. Actually, I guess it won't let me. Yeah, it won't let me open that particular one up because I've got to actually start the course. But these are all of the areas. So you have advanced computer forensics, reverse engineering, analysis and signature development, advanced Windows scripting. So you go anywhere from a basic to intermediate, and these are going to be some of the courses. Certified Ethical Hacker, version 10. And just to let you know, these courses are updated every time the material is updated by the vendor. So every time the vendor gets ready to do away with a particular course, FedVTE will sunset that course at the same time as the vendor does. So that way you still have, you'll still have information to refer back to, but this will give you the most up to date. And normally, I believe the last time that I used this site, it would be anywhere if the vendor sunsetted a particular course, let's just say it was for September of 21, it would still be available for you to continue to take 6 months after that date. Because sometimes, life happens, you'll start a course and you'll get caught up in doing something else, and then you try to come back to it, and then you find out, oh my God, it's getting ready to sunset. So this allows you that extra time to be able to continue through the course. Now, when you get ready to go for your actual testing, you want to make sure that you have the most up to date, and that information will be on the vendor's website in terms of what areas are going to be covered during the test. But this is free training, and I'm actually going to, I'm trying to find the one for CISM, and I'm actually going to click on one of those and see if it's actually in here.
Here, we're gonna wrap this up in like the next minute because we're over on time.
All right.
So while you're looking for that, Alicia, Renee, words of wisdom for these people this evening that are maybe looking at this. What's the first place that you would advise them to start?
First place I would advise them to start, if they're not in IT, is to get an entry-level job in IT. Get your certifications. Get your Security Plus, your Network Plus, or A Plus. Depending on, an A Plus will help you get an IT job. And so it's important. If you're in IT and you want to pivot over, start working on your certifications. You can do your advanced CISSP and your Security Plus because you already have those 5 years of experience in IT. And then, and networking. Biggest thing I can tell is networking. Google things, try to get, there's any networks you can get. I would, you find somebody, maybe somebody can be a sponsor for you. Make sure that you go to lunch with somebody, go to lunch with a recruiter, right? Go, there you go. Buy me lunch. But no, I mean, seriously. So networking is a huge
More
thing.
effective if you buy the recruiter lunch.
Chuck likes salads. But yeah, so
Pizza.
I guess that's kind of like the basic stuff of it. Networking is the biggest thing I would say. Is you need to really network. You need to get to know people and let them get to know you. Try to go to conferences if you can go to conferences. Like in Minnesota, they always have the Alicia, help me. They have that other those conferences like the cybersecurity conferences. Anybody can go to.
Yes, and especially now with there being the whole COVID-19,
Yes.
a lot of things are being done
Virtual.
online through Zoom. So you have a good opportunity to do that. And
Yes.
just to kind of leave you guys with one last thing, please connect with me on LinkedIn. One of the things that I'm working on is to establish my YouTube channel that's going to be specifically dedicated into helping individuals who want to move into the cybersecurity professional area. I'm going to be doing a series of how to get started. Where are you in your career? If you want to be able to go from technical to be doing compliance and policy, I'll have a series on that, and I'll kind of be using my own experiences and how I've managed to, work my way up in this career field and to be at the level that I'm at right now, and to be hopefully, making my way towards retirement in the next couple of years.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it takes time. Please do not get frustrated, right?
And don't give up either.
Yeah, don't give up.
Don't get those first certs.
Yeah.
Don't even
If you have that passion and you start building a home lab, you start teaching yourself, do whatever you can, and don't give up. I'm not gonna bullshit anybody. It's make sure you do it because you love it, right? Money is great, but if you don't love this career, it's gonna eat you up. It is always a non-stop learning. This is not digging ditches.
Yeah.
The reason why we get paid so much is because you're constantly learning. You need to keep up on a daily basis. And I don't want to scare anybody away. I just want people to understand.
You're scary.
This is the reality of it. Mm-hmm. But it's awesome. I enjoy it. I love it. I love it.
Yep. You upgraded yourself a bunch. Okay, Alicia. So I put your email in there for these guys to reach out. We'll add your YouTube channel on here as well. And we'll add your LinkedIn, if that's cool.
Yeah.
So they can reach out to you there. So guys, we brought you someone that's got 25 years of experience in IT, security, and all kinds of other crazy stuff. I'm sure we just touched the tip of the iceberg, even though we went an hour tonight, which is not normal for us. But
awesome job.
You have someone here at your disposal who wants to help you succeed. So reach out to her. Reach out. Yeah, she's here to help. She's here just like all other vets on this page to help one another out, get ahead. So thanks for, I'll give you the last word as we go, Alicia. Parting words of wisdom. Like, you ever watch Jerry Springer, like The Final Moment or whatever that was? I don't know if they still do that. I'm guessing it's probably on in the daytime. But yeah, give us your parting words for the evening for these guys. 20 seconds.
Just to let you guys know, the key to this is networking. Network, network, network. This is how I have managed to be in this field for 25 years and to basically increase my salary from year to year to year. Because one thing about cyber, no matter what field you choose or what area you work in, you're always going to see that same person somewhere else down the line.
Exactly. The boogeyman.
It's a small community in each state. Minnesota has a really small community.
Yep.
So yes, don't burn bridges in cyber. Don't do
Just
it.
block you, put you on the black hat list. Or
Yes,
whatever you guys
that'd
got
be
for
bad.
shit going on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this evening. Reach out to Renee. Reach out to Alicia. Don't reach out to me. Don't reach out to Pete because we don't know anything about this. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All I know is what's written on a piece of paper. Ask if they got A, B, and C. That's it, as far as it goes. I don't know what Docker is. I just know what it is. What the word is. Okay. All right. Have a good evening, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.